Hey loves, Haley Steinfeld here. Let's be real. When I'm on the red carpet, everyone wants to know whose dress I'm wearing. But here's the thing. We're so focused on those details, we're missing something that's actually way more important. Breast health. It's wild. Breasts get so much attention, but they're still so ignored when it matters most. Don't know what I'm talking about? Tune in on February 9th and visit yourattentionplease.com. That's yourattentionplease.com. See you then.
So, normally, what's the update? Sid Rosenberg has effectively shut down the "we hate Israelis, we hate Jews, let's kill them if we can" rally that was going to be at that Episcopalian church across from the 26th precinct on 126th Street. He not only shut it down, the Reverend there called him up personally and said, almost an apology of sorts. They didn't realize the extent of what this rally was attempting to achieve.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you heard the wrinkle if you were listening to Sid this morning, but there was a wrinkle in this story that did not get a lot of play. So this brochure, this pamphlet went out that said they were going to hold this pro-Palestinian event, and they were going to figure out a way to unlive Jews, right? So that was the big part of this pamphlet, is they were going to unlive Jews. Well, now we find out, at least according to Sid, that Yeshiva World, the news outlet, they apparently put the words "unlive" into the pamphlet when they post the story on their website, I imagine in a bid to get a whole lot more clicks. So the original organization, who was planning to have some sort of protest, that was not in their pamphlet. This, of course, again, to Sid Rosenberg, who said that Yeshiva World, the news outlet, was the one who put that in there.
But the church itself said, no, we're not going to have any of it, no matter what it turns out to be, because we don't want Sid Rosenberg all over us. He padlocked that place. City Hall called up, they claim they got nowhere. Richie Torres, all of a sudden he's discovered he loves Jews. He got nowhere. Sid, King David II.
Yeah.
And then you followed up on the lead that they had just moved down to the 1804 bookstore, a favorite of communists and socialists. I'm sure you've been inside looking at some of their publications.
All the time. Yeah.
Especially me, Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. I've been in there. I grew up on that. It's right there on West 37th Street between 8th and 9th. And they said they would host the event. And then where did it go yesterday? Because you picked up the phone and you called them.
I called them, and the person that answered at the store, I don't know who they were, in all honesty, but it was somebody who answered at 1804.
It was probably a communist or a socialist. Right?
Yes, okay. I'm assuming. Yeah, they did answer the phone, good morning, comrade.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay. You felt right at home, right?
I did. So, and I asked, I said, are you holding this event? And they told me that they had gotten complaints, in their words, from the radio station, meaning clearly people who had been listening to Sid had called the bookstore and asked them not to hold the event, and they had told me at that moment they were not, but now I hear that may not be true.
Yeah, well, it's a meeting of the Palestinian Film Club. That's how they're titling it. You get to watch documentaries and cheer for Intifada 1, Intifada 2, and Intifada 3. And they're handing out brand new editions right off the press of Palestine, Israeli occupation, and the U.S. empire.
Oh, that sounds like a page-turner.
Yeah. So, you're getting a free book. God only knows, hummus for all, if you show up, because that'll satisfy both sides, both the protesters against it and the protesters against Israel. So everybody will have a hummus fest, right?
Well, I love a free plate of hummus.
Hummus. We'll get to that momentarily.
Okay.
Oh, my God. I got to tell you, that gives me bad memories. But let's move on to this fake, phony, fraudulent Fugazi MTA chairman. What is his name again?
Jano Lieber.
Yeah, this is the guy who told us that crime in the subways is in our head.
Yeah.
He who gets a town car to ride him around at our expense, 4 MTA gun-toting police officers to protect him, and he never rides the subway. Never, ever, ever rides the subway. But this whole congestion pricing tax and scam was so that we would be able to support growth and development of not just the subway, but buses of the MTA, right?
Yeah, that's what we were told, was that this $9 toll that you have to pay to come into Midtown would all go to the MTA, and it would go towards fixing the infrastructure, which, subway system's 120 years old, so there's a lot of fix that needs to be done.
And it's all electronic now. Like in a casino, how much you made, how much you lost.
Yeah.
And yet he wouldn't answer that question up in Albany yesterday.
What's the total amount of revenue?
This is all going to be very open book. We're going to put the revenue numbers out as soon as we have them.
You are the open data king.
The open data king.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're really open data king.
If it was good data, they would be publishing it.
Of course.
It's obviously bad data. And by the way, before they can invest a nickel, dime, or penny in infrastructure, they have an $800 million deficit from not collecting fares, and I'll explain it. Half the people who ride the buses don't pay their fare, city buses. A third of the people who ride the subways don't pay their fare. And they factored in also fare evasion on the Long Island Railroad, which is $46 million, and on Metro North, $44 million. So that's a total of $800 million in fare evasion. Their best estimate is that they would make $800 million from congestion pricing.
Right.
So there wouldn't even be any money to invest in capital improvements. They say, well, it'll allow us to invest in bonds. Nothing prevents you from floating out bonds right now to people who want to make money. It's all bogus. And the fact that he can't give us a number now means it ain't doing good.
Is it possible that few cars are actually driving into Midtown, or did they completely calculate this all wrong about who was going to drive in? Because you got to think there's a fair amount of people who just were like, I have no choice. I'm going to have to pay this $9 fare. It can't be that many people are no longer driving into Midtown.
Well, the Yenta-in-chief of New York State, the grifter woman, has had 3 conversations with Trump on why he should not do away with congestion pricing. Probably one of her arguments is it's going to generate a lot of revenue. And as a business guy, he's probably saying, well, let's see what the initial tallies are. Could you play that Janet Lebo again? Can you imagine if Trump were requesting figures to make a decision one way or the other, and he heard this?
What's the total amount of revenue?
This is all going to be very open book. We're going to put the revenue numbers out as soon as we have them.
You are the open data king.
I mean, it was amazing is they can tell us that the commute from Jersey City into the city through the Holland Tunnel is 48% faster. That they can tell us, which you would think would be harder to detect than just looking at the proceeds that are coming in when they take pictures of our license plates or pick up our Easy Pass, right? You would think that's instantaneous. They would know how much money is coming in.
Yeah, but it's like the bad news bears, the good news bears. Good news bears, they're out there in front, ahead of the curve. Bad news is slow news, almost no news.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, it ain't good news. But let's switch from that. I was very fascinated, as would my wife, who would normally be here for the Rip and Read, but she has said as long as you or James Flippin are in here with me for the starting segment, she refuses to come in.
Yeah.
Because she says you take unwarranted shots at me, and as my wife, she just doesn't want to be in the same room.
I've noticed that. She actually does. She gives me those looks. She stares me down when I say bad things about you.
That's right. Well, you were talking about the chickens, and many of the chickens, are they breathing a sigh of relief? Or are they breathing a sigh of, this is it, we're going to get our necks wrung and snapped because Governor Hochul will not allow for the sale of live chickens. What's going on
Well,
here?
look, you understand this maybe better than most. For a lot of people, they don't know. There's a lot of live chicken stores across the city. People like to buy the chickens alive and then they kill them, bring them back home.
Well, that's mostly those who like halal and who like kosher.
Yeah. So
that's part of their religious observance.
Yeah, usually they'll kill it for you right in the store, and then you get to
slit
home.
their throats.
That's right.
And you watch them just die in excruciating pain.
They don't usually show the customers that part. They just show you they hand you the chicken afterwards.
Well, I've seen that during Kippuris. We'll be discussing that momentarily.
Okay,
your peeps, the Orthodox, they love to throw the chicken around their head and then slit their throats and bleed them out right there.
Yeah, I don't know if those are my peeps, but yes.
Oh, are they Orthodox Jews or what?
Yeah, Do I look like an Orthodox Jew?
Well, you could be. Oh, that's right. There are divisions. I forgot.
Yes,
Yeah. You're Reformed. You're not
barely,
really.
yeah.
You're not really. But go on. Ashkenazi, tell us more. What will this encompass? Explain this. Because my wife, at this point, doesn't know whether to cheer or to pray over the demise of so many of these chickens who are going to have their necks snapped.
Yeah, I think she's going to have to pray over the demise because you can imagine now that people hear that these live chicken stores or live bird stores are going to be shut down. They're not racing there to get them because they're worried, wait a minute, are they infected with the avian flu? Now, there have been cases where avian flu, the chickens have passed them on to farmers. There's been a number of cases across the country. There's been no person to person. Of course, that'd be a real fair. So the question is, I imagine many of these will be slaughtered and then not used. They'll be just, chucked out back in the trash can.
So basically, they're all on death row either way.
Yeah, they were never going to live, and this does not change anything.
So actually, Nancy might actually dance the whore and the tarantella if people would give up eating fowl.
Yeah.
Because of this. Not to eat fowl. Imagine if there was a massive warning that if you ate chicken or turkey or duck or any other fowl, that you might catch bird flu. How many people do you think would give up going to Kentucky Fried Chicken or Popeyes?
I think there'd be a fair amount of people, yeah.
Well, then that would make Nancy's day, wouldn't it?
That's true. So maybe she should spread the word that the flock of birds here in New York City all have the avian flu.
So now let me ask you, according to the Talmud, according to the Torah.
Yes, I'm a scholar on both.
Yes, that when Kippuris comes and they start swinging the chickens around their heads.
Yeah, on Yom Kippur they do that.
That's right. And they are saying the prayer, they're chanting. And then eventually the chicken meets its demise as it gets its throat slit and bled out right down the street.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? If they tell them there's no more chickens, kosher or halal or Purdue oven roast chickens, what are they going to substitute for the chicken?
Well, you can still, go to your local supermarket and get an Empire chicken. That's
but it's
a kosher
dead.
Chicken.
It's dead. You understand? The Kippuris, as you know, don't act stupid
wait.
to me.
No, let me just tell you, just so people don't think that Jews do this all the time, and not that they even do it once a year. But Kippuris is just a ceremony right before Yom Kippur, where your sins are supposed to go to the chicken, and then you slice the chicken, and your sins go away. The amount of people who do this, by the way, is a very small amount of people.
So,
most Jews don't think this is a good idea.
Let me get this
straight. So it's one time a year, a very extreme form of Judaism. I would think that most people who are listening to us would say, oh, that's terrible.
Well, King David II,
Yeah.
our own Sid Rosenberg, 6 October 7th, has admitted in the past he's committed many sins. Mm-hmm. Many sins. Yeah. So now that he's King David II, king of all the Jews, Hasidic, Orthodox, Reformed, self-hating Jews, should he do this ceremony?
Should he do the Kippurs?
To get rid of all of his sins?
The funny thing is I think he would need like a flock of chickens to get rid of his
Well,
sins.
better than that, he got to hope that he gets written into the Book of Life, right, which already passed.
Yeah, I think he's in.
And in order to increase his chances of survival, you go to the nearest body of moving water and you throw in progressive breadcrumbs. By the way, are they kosher, progressive breadcrumbs?
I don't think progressive are kosher. I think they're not kosher, actually.
And please don't feed the birds with that because it bloats in their stomach like with the swans and everything. And
I think it's not bread you're supposed to throw, not bread crumbs.
Well, wait a second. Hey, let's say the only thing you have is progressive breadcrumbs and it doesn't have a K on the box. Will that relieve you of your sins? Might Hashem decide I'm going to write them into the Book of Life?
I don't think so because it doesn't have the Circle K on it. It's not
Why
kosher.
the hell am I asking you? I should be asking some Jewish scholar here. I mean, you of all people.
I think I'm doing pretty good. I explained Kippuris. I bet most Jews couldn't do that.
Well, you are a book boy of sorts. You've gone from reading the Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx and Engels.
That's right. We raised the red flag at camp. Yeah.
Jews, I might add, right? Am I right? Okay. And you've gone from somebody who has read Talmud and Torah in your lifetime.
That's right.
So you're well read. So I should accept your Judaic interpretations?
Yes.
Hell no.
Even Joe Potasnik listens to what I have to say.
How about we put this before King David II on Monday?
Okay.
We give him that choice because, hey, this is big. He's the king of all Jews now. Not across the street to Schmuck the Putz Chuck E. Cheese Schumer, who's acting more like a Palestinian. Okay, so next, Jews know about Sanctuary City. Because every time they'd find a Sanctuary City, they'd have to carry whatever money or jewels they had with them and passports. Because at any moment, that sanctuary could be yanked from them, right?
And it was, yeah.
King Ferdinand and Isabella, remember in Spain?
They did that.
Right after they sent Columbus going west to find east with the the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa, and the Maria, right? The 4 ships.
Right, and didn't they send him away because he was a Jew?
Yes, they did, because they didn't want to have to slaughter him. They figured, hey, he's going to fall off the end of the world. It's flat to begin with. But the point is, then they said basically to all the Jews, yeah, we were a sanctuary for you, but now you either convert, or we just chop your heads off, or you become a Morano. You know what a Morano means?
Yeah, it's the guy who does the overnight show.
Frank Morano, the Mameluke.
Yeah.
By the way, a little side note, I was with the Staten Island GOP committee last night. They were reviewing all kinds of candidates. The one question I got the most from all the people there, because, that's a big GOP group, why you call Frank Morano the Mameluke? They kept asking me that. So I had to spend all my talk time explaining it, and then beep. I said, but I didn't get a chance to talk about any mayoral issues. That's quite all right. We needed an answer to that. But don't throw me off here.
Wait, did they endorse his candidacy, the Republican committee last night?
No, not his, because remember, he's in a special election. He's not in a primary.
Oh, that's right. So anybody can run, and you're not.
Anybody. Yeah. And in these special elections, generally hundreds of people run.
Right.
And it's ranked choice voting, which... Who's the only one ever to support ranked choice voting? Frank Morano.
Who's the only one who understands ranked choice voting?
It's
Frank Morano.
It's like a political bingo game. But now back to Sanctuary City.
Yeah.
You heard what Pam Bondi said yesterday. That's it. The DOJ has moved to cut funding for any city for 60 days that calls itself a sanctuary city.
And let me be very clear. If you don't comply with federal law, you're going to be next.
So now, what does that mean for Eric Adams, Swaggerman, who has a plan to get a pardon? He has complied with everything that Team Trump has asked him. He has bowed. He has curtsied. He has dropped everything and run. He was at that breakfast prayer session yesterday with a reverend who actually has advocated that if you support gays or lesbians, LGBTQ+, that you be arrested and executed. They put him right next to that guy.
Yeah.
And he said, please, no. Come on. You want a pardon? Okay, I'll sit next to this guy. And that picture has gone to every gay and lesbian person in the city of New York. He's dead as a Democrat, right? Can we agree with that?
We can agree, but you saw what he did this morning. City Hall put out this memo to all city workers that said you can let ICE agents into your building, into your school even, if you have somebody who you feel is a threat that is here illegally. Did you see that this morning? So
I thought, and let's check the terminology.
Right.
I thought if you're frightened of the ICE agents.
Right.
Because, ICE, they're bad. They believe the propaganda. These are men and women just like everybody else.
Yeah,
they're just doing their job.
They look like a cop.
But if you're going to have an issue with them, you can let them in.
Yeah.
We'll go over that language.
Okay.
Meantime, talking about language, has the mayor of Philadelphia yet learned how to spell Eagles?
Let me hear you all say E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Bird!
That's about as smart as anything I've heard from anyone in Philadelphia.
Nobody's corrected her. And you know what? She may be spelling it right because she spelled it E-L-G-E-S, right? And that's how they say it in Philadelphia. Eagles. They call them the Eagles, just like they call them bagels.
Okay.
Eagles. So she may have been right. You're making fun of her.
All right.
But she actually spelled it correctly.
All right. So let's cut to the chase. Giant fan, as I know you are, because when I sponsored a hummus summit on South Main Street in Patterson to try to bring Arabic peoples together and Christian peoples together over 9/11. You remember Trump decided not to show up at the hummus session.
We invited him. I was shocked that he did not show up.
He did not show up, and then you left halfway through with your giant paraphernalia on because it was a Giants home game, you and your son. And you stuck me with the bill for all the hummus.
Well, it's funny is you don't remember I actually brought my whole family.
You did?
Yeah.
And I had to pay for all of them.
You did.
And boy, you were all of you were eating as if it was your last meal on death row.
It was amazing. We got the fruit shakes because those are really popular in those restaurants. We got plates of hummus, shawarma. We got chicken kebab. We got baba ganoush. We got grape leaves.
You ate like pigs.
We did. And then I remember I said, we need to leave. Can I leave you some money? And you were like, no. I'm going to take care of it. Little did I know.
I don't remember that part
you did.
of it. But,
little did I know you would bring the story up 100 times after that.
So let me make what I lost. Eagles or Chiefs?
It is going to be the Chiefs are going to win.
I hate the Chiefs and I hate the Eagles.
I'm right there with you.
So I'm like Switzerland. I hope it's 0-0 like a soccer game.
Curtis Sliwa. Curtis Sliwa. Rip and read. Check this out. This is the Rip and Read featuring Curtis Sliwa. Talking about now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa. This is the Rip and Read. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa.
Paso muchas noches pensándote, yo no sé ni cómo ni cuándo fue, pero solo sé que yo recordé cómo te lo hacía y aquella vez. Si yo no puedo seguir solo.
Well, the president of Guatemala has said you can send all the criminals from Guatemala back to their country of origin. I will take them, President Trump, as Marco Rubio has just completed that agreement with them. Notice they're all falling into line. Venezuela, Colombia will even send the presidential plane to pick them up, and now Guatemala. But there is breaking news right now.
Breaking news, WABC.
So as Eric Adams, Swagger Man, finally has a plan after 3 years, and that is to get his charges dismissed or get a pardon from President Donald Trump. More problems. His ex-City Hall aide, Mohammed Bahi, has just pled guilty to funneling illegal donations to Mayor Adams in his campaign against me. Now, the Turkish guy who did that for Erdogan has pled guilty. How do you dismiss charges against the sitting mayor who was the beneficiary of illegal campaign contributions when you have one Turk who has already signaled he's pleading guilty, he's guilty, and you have now the ex-City Hall aide Mohammed Bahi who has pled guilty, claiming that he funneled illegal campaign contributions right to Eric Adams. And that's why I think you notice that Eric Adams has decided to hell to New York City. It's all about him getting a pardon, getting these charges dismissed, because he does not want to go to jail, even when the brand new Attorney General yesterday told Eric Adams and other mayors of sanctuary cities that she's turning the spigots off for 60 days.
And let me be very clear. If you don't comply with federal law, you're going to be next.
So that was a blanket statement. For 60 days, the DOJ is turning off the spigot. No money to sanctuary cities until you clean up this sanctuary city status, which is not a legal status. It does not supersede federal law. And now we're going to see how Eric Adams bucks and dances and bows and curtsies. He's going to be testifying in March at a House hearing, which he'll probably speak the Trump line. Because, oh boy, how have times changed as we go back into time. Remember, it was 3 years ago. Eric Adams was cursing Donald Trump's name and calling himself the Biden of Brooklyn.
I'm the Biden of Brooklyn.
And then remember, he was blaming all of the migrant problems that he claims were the result not of Biden in this city, but of Trump Republicans.
Trump Republicans created this mess, and we need to fix this mess with real immigration reform.
And then remember, he stood there at the Port Authority, how could we ever forget, in his $5,000 customized suit with his receiving line from City Hall with the swag bags for the first buses that arrived from Texas. Governor Abbott sending him here because we're a sanctuary city. He called Abbott a racist. He said, hey, we can take care of these illegal aliens better than anyone else. And he walked them right over to the Milford Plaza Hotel. $400 a night. He gave them all the food they could eat. Culturally appropriate, of course. They didn't want to eat the bagels and schmears at the Milford Plaza, so he Grubhubbed them culturally appropriate food. Mungu, mofungo, whatever you want. Put it on the tab of the New York City taxpayer. And remember how much more he offered them that he never offered to average everyday Americans here in the city down on their luck or who have health or emotional issues or happen to be veterans who served in wartime or peacetime.
Let's have immediate translation services to assist that people can have access to the services that are already available. We have to expand NYC Care to make sure everyone has health care. We need to make sure we have proper translation services in our schools so that we can start building out the future as well.
And remember, he went even further, offering to care for every need that an illegal alien had from the cradle to the grave.
We are going to fulfill our moral and legal obligation to house everyone that enters New York City. That is what we have done, and that is what we will continue to do.
And let me continue to remind all of you to not buy the political propaganda coming from Team Trump. That Eric Adams is guilty only of upgrades of his plane flights to Turkey and hotel accommodations. He stole $10 million of our tax money in campaign contributions that had an 8-to-1 match. They all were illegal campaign contributions funneled from Erdogan, who hates Israel and hates Jews, the dictator of Turkey, to a Turkish businessman who has already pled guilty to doing it. He's ready to testify against Eric Adams. Said, we discussed it at a dinner, and he said, go ahead and put the donations through straw donors. Most of them didn't even exist. In fact, when the campaign financial board tried to follow up on who some of these people were, they ran into an abyss. There were people who were non-existent. When they contacted some other persons, they said, did you write out a check to the elect Eric Adams campaign fund? Who's Eric Adams? The guy's in big trouble. He ripped off $10 million of our money in the city. That is not hotel accommodation upgrades. That is not airline upgrades like Team Trump and some others want to say to dismiss it and to embrace Eric Adams because he's willing to do the Moscow bear dance as if it's the Moscow circus to whatever Team Trump tells him to do. And we saw that happen after he was hit with those 5 indictments by the Southern District. And the Southern District promised that they would hit him with superseding indictments for witness intimidation. Here was the party line that Eric Adams was using to suggest that he is like Trump. He is a victim of lawfare.
Mayor, let's talk about what seems to be your sort of warming relationship with the president-elect. And I just wonder, is there a connection between your federal indictment on campaign finance fraud charges and your apparent shift towards him?
Not at all. Listen, I did nothing wrong. I said that over and over again. I should not have been targeted in the first place. I've repeatedly stated that.
He's innocent. He's done nothing wrong. Look at his administration. How many indictments? How many people left overnight to avoid being indicted? How many of them are now talking to the feds and to Alvin Bragg and to Tish James and other individuals as potentially confidential informants or individuals who are prepared to testify against Eric Adams in ongoing litigation should President Trump do what he said he wants to do to pardon Eric Adams, or even have the DOJ in Washington oversee the Southern District, the Manhattan Southern District U.S. Attorney's Office, and just dismiss the charges outright through Pam Bondi. And then remember, in this issue of sanctuary cities, and Washington cutting off the money for 60 days. Do you think that Eric Adams would publicly dispute Pam Bondi or President Donald Trump over this because he's got bills to pay, which ultimately are the bills we have to pay, ladies and gentlemen?
If things that he does that I disagree on, I will reach out to the president and communicate with him. And there are going to be things we agree on. There are things that we disagree on.
Yeah, and he's communicating with President Trump every day on burner phones. Eric Adams has 2 burner phones. He's paranoid that his phones are being tapped, and rightfully so. He's like the head of an organized crime family. The only thing that I and Nancy, my wife, in the deep dives haven't figured out, we haven't yet connected all the dots on if all of the crooks that he appointed to office, some who've been indicted, some who've left early, if they had a kick up to the Don being Eric Adams. But right now he will do everything and anything to avoid having to go to trial because he will be found guilty. And he will go to jail just like Bobby Menendez, who himself was squealing outside of federal court when they gave him 11 years, when he was saying, oh, I'm a victim of lawfare too, just like Trump, just like Eric Adams, just like me. Bullschnitzel. Now, cutting off sanctuary city monies. Eric Adams is claiming that he's eliminating certain migrant shelters. And yet he's opening up a brand new one to house 2,200 single able-bodied men of military age with nothing to do and nowhere to go along the Bruckner Expressway, not far from our beloved Bernard McGurk, where he was born and raised in the Monroe housing projects. Across the Bruckner is the Sotomayor projects in the heart of the South Bronx. This is an area that has been decimated. There's a jail there. There are halfway houses. There are rehab centers. There are regular shelters for American homeless. And now he's going to stick that in there. There's no need. If you're eliminating shelters, why would you need a brand new shelter? I'm telling you. It was Mike Rendino, who's the Bronx County Republican leader, who tipped me off to this. And Nancy, we've done the deep dive. We are connecting all the dots as to where the kickbacks for this new shelter are coming from. And it looks like it's coming from let's just say a firm that is registered in the Cayman Islands. We'll leave it at that because that generally means that there is money being laundered. Typical Eric Adams, and some of you out there want to forgive him. Yesterday, they took sort of like a straw vote. Staten Island County Republican Committee meeting. Would there be any Republicans that would ever support Eric Adams if the Trump administration were to say, we want you to run Eric on the Republican line for mayor? Not one hand went up. Nobody. He's a pariah. He is a mayor of no consequence now, wearing $5,000 customized suits, partying to the break of dawn, who doesn't even have a party that will accept him. He is a man who has one mission, and that is to stay out of jail. Up next, oh my God, this diva, Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo, back and forth with Sid Rosenberg. If I'm going to come on with you, there's certain restrictions. You can't ask me this, you can't ask me that. And so they're going to have a third sit down. I don't know why Sid even bothers. It's either the guy comes on and he grows a set, or he continues to be a girly man afraid of answering any questions, which is what Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo has always been. A privileged, born with a silver spoon in his mouth, girly man.
Talking about this is the Rip and Read featuring Curtis Sliwa. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC and Curtis Sliwa.
drama queen, Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo. King Cuomo the second, the son of Mario Faccia Bruta Cuomo, King Cuomo the first. This is endless. Oh, I have to have a sit down with Sid before I come on his show. And as I told Sid, Cuomo needs you. You don't need Cuomo. Sid is the voice that reaches the white ethnic community in all 5 boroughs that Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo needs if he is to become the next mayor and destroy this city like he destroyed the state. And he knows that. But he's such a diva. He's such a drama queen. Oh, I have to have sit-downs with Sid. We got to craft what are the questions. We got to sort of indicate, okay, you asked me this first, this second. I am surprised that Sid would even capitulate to this. And here was Sid again this morning for the umpteenth time, reminding us how this time it's not going to be a dinner with Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo because he canceled. He canceled because I keep pressuring Sid on the questions that he has to ask. And he can't vacillate, and he can't do the pivot and shift. So this was Sid again this morning. I read about this freaking third sit-down.
Now, 5 days away from the quote-unquote sit-down, according to Curtis Sliwa, when I will have a meal for the third time with potential mayoral candidate Andrew Cuomo. We're supposed to have dinner 2 nights ago, but didn't happen. So we're having lunch on Wednesday. And again, it's our third sit down. And he knows what I'm going to ask him. He knows what I would ask him if he came on this show, which he has not done yet. So that's coming up on Wednesday. People ask me, what happened to Cuomo? It's going to happen on Wednesday. That's a pretty big deal.
Makwanamai, yeah, it was supposed to happen before. Let me explain to you what's happening. Cuomo wants a stenographer at the lunch to write everything down so that whatever Sid commits to, he's got to stick to it. And this guy is a bully. He's belligerent. He's going to tell Sid, hey, I don't come on if you ask the following questions. Now, why would Sid even care? He's the number 1 talk-rated host in America, coast to coast, period. AM, PM, FM, AM, doesn't matter. Cuomo needs Sid. Sid does not need Cuomo. So I'm laying it out for all of you, ladies and gentlemen. The number 1 question that people have, including Dems, about Cuomo is why he would say that America was never that great.
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great.
So he's got to answer that right off the top of the interview. If I have to repeat it 4 times, why did you say this over and over when you were governor?
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great.
Everywhere I've gone and done a focus group with people, Democrats, Independents, Republicans, they say, well, what the hell did he mean about that? It's like he's shaming America. It's like he's ashamed of being an American. Sid's got to ask him that right out of the box. He'll have more than enough time to prepare an answer. This lunch, this third sit-down isn't until Wednesday. He can practice his lines all weekend long. And then, of course, no cash bail. He is the author of No Cash Bail, the only one in the country where there is no judicial oversight.
In America, you are still innocent until proven guilty. And that's whether you're black or white. That's whether you're rich or poor. We're going to end the cash bail system once and for all. We're going to do it in New York, and we're going to do it this year.
They cheered him. By the way, Justin, these cuts should be played because Cuomo's going to say, well, I didn't say that. Well, if you play the cut and then you ask him the question, and that's what Sid has to be forced to do, it doesn't give him much wiggle room. Now, he's like a gusano, a worm. So he's going to try to wiggle. And then Sid can just come in and say, well, now with all these ICE raids and the public being totally in favor of them taking away these criminal thugs to deport them to their country of origin, are you going to apologize for what you were calling ICE agents when you were governor? You called them thugs.
New York State is the state that says we will not cooperate with ICE. They're a bunch of thugs. He politicized ICE. They're a bunch of thugs. We said we will sue them if they violate any criminal laws in the state of New York.
So you see, Justin, you have to play the cut first because Cuomo is a gusano. He is a worm. He's going to try to worm his way out. He'll be in total denial. The DID syndrome. Deny it, ignore it, delay answer. How can he not answer that when you actually play the cut first? He's going to demand that Sid not play the cuts first. I guarantee you that. He's going to say you can't play those cuts first. And then what a fair weather friend. What a traditor. What a Judas who would take 30 pieces of silver. He pretended that he was Eric Adams' best friend, didn't he, Justin? He said, we got to support Eric Adams because if Eric Adams doesn't succeed, then the city suffers. Listen to what he said.
I support the mayor, and he's a friend, and I'm trying to help him every way I can. And we should all support him because if he doesn't do well, we don't do well, Cindy.
Well. Now, you're not supporting him. You're going to run against him. And you're going to have to campaign against him because he's going to play the race card against Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo. It's what Sid always does. Can I hear that again one more time? And boy, Sid better play this cut. I want to see how he worms his way out of this one.
I support the mayor, and he's a friend, and I'm trying to help him every way I can. And we should all support him because if he doesn't do well, we don't do well, Cindy.
And then the last one, congestion pricing. The author, the sponsor, the person who promoted it, passed it through the state legislature. The additional tax that some of you are paying now and having your pockets picked as you come in south of 60th Street in Manhattan, all courtesy of Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo. So you have there 6 questions. And those 6 questions better appear to be asked of Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo one day when he decides he's going to come on with Sid Rosenberg after maybe the 4th, 5th, or 6th sit down. Oofa!
Larry Kudlow here with an urgent warning. While we celebrate Trump's historic win, inflation continues to drain your IRA and 401k. And China is now targeting your money with a kill shot on the dollar. That's why thousands of Americans are shielding their savings with gold and contacting the experts at Colonial Metals Group. Gold has protected American wealth through every financial war. For a free 2024 gold guide that explains everything, please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908. The experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you bulletproof your wealth with gold. Go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908. That's 800-621-3908 for a free 2024 gold guide to learn how you can protect your life's work and if you qualify for a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver right now. freegoldguide.com/Kudlow.